Avery, whose show is this? And we're live. Welcome, everybody, here to the Lakers Lounge podcast. I'm Anthony Irwin, Senior Lakers Insider for Clutch Points. And today on the show, it's a different kind of show. It's a very different show from the one that I would normally do on a random Wednesday leading up to the trade deadline. Look, there's a ton of stuff going on across the Southland. You have a new set of fires pop up near Hollywood after the ones that have already been raging across the Pacific Palisades and the ones that have ravaged parts of Los Angeles already. And I'm not going to lie, I was really torn about whether or not to do this show at all. So I put it up to you guys. I asked on Twitter what we think about this and how you guys think I should handle the situation. And I'm glad I did because I want you guys to feel like a part of the show. And the overwhelming consensus that I arrived at was, yes, let's talk about basketball. Let's think about something else for a little while. And I'm absolutely blown away that you guys see the show in that way. Told Jen about it, actually got like a little emotional telling Jen about it because it's just this little thing that we created and it's kind of grown into its own, and it does play an important role in people's lives in moments like this. And I was kind of thinking about it too. Jen and I were talking about it, and I think that like one of the toughest things or one of the tougher things about COVID was how we didn't have any other release. We just sat in our houses for the entirety of that time and were reminded about how shitty things are. You had Skype calls that you tried to, turn into something as close to human interaction as you could. But, a little ways into that, you kind of realize, nope, that's not going to suffice either. We had that Last Dance documentary that we all kind of wrapped our arms around because brought some nostalgia into it and some of that community aspect of watching sports that we really missed. Got really into Korean baseball, because there just wasn't anything else. And at a time like this, when so many people are hurting, so many people are devastated up and down the West Coast there, and in particularly, obviously, in Southern California, we do have this community. We do have sports that we can kind of think about for a little bit. That's how you kind of return to some form of normalcy, even in some of the most dire situations, is while you're waiting for the assessment, or while the damage assessment or whatever, or you're trying to talk with family, or even some idle time in between going over everything that has just happened. You go instinctually and habitually to your phone and you look on Twitter to see what's going on across the NBA or with the Lakers. And that was something that we didn't have during COVID. And it is something that we have now. It's something that I think you guys are absolutely right to say that, yeah, let's talk about basketball. Let's utilize this thing that we have as we go through this together in ways that we couldn't have before with previous unfortunate situations. And let's just be together. So today, the point of the show is to lift up those positive vibes. You guys know I can be very cynical. I can be kind of downtrodden when it comes to this team. But today, I'm going to set all of those concerns aside. Yes, there are concerns that we still have. This doesn't mean that those concerns go anywhere. But this is kind of an opportunity where we can all come together. And there have been some good things about this Lakers team, right? They're 20-16. They're right there in the thick of it in the Western Conference standings. Somehow, some way, LeBron has turned 40 and continues to fend off Father Time. There is a ton to be kind of thankful for as it pertains to this Lakers team. And I want to kind of focus on those things. So we're going to kind of go topic by topic in no particular order, however it kind of, comes to me and comes to us. you guys, if you guys have any comments or whatever, let them fly too, because, this episode more than most is going to be that, is going to have that back and forth between myself and you guys watching. A quick reminder, please do hit that subscribe button if you guys are here watching on YouTube for the first time. If you guys are watching on Twitter, head on over to youtube.com/@LakersLounge. It's where you can find the show there. And then in the morning, if you guys are listening to this in the form of a podcast, please subscribe wherever it is that you get your podcasts, preferably on Odyssey, because I'm a company man. All right, without any further ado, I'm going to see how long I can go while remaining positive about the Los Angeles Lakers. Cheers, everybody. I needed a bigger swig. All right. First and foremost, I don't think we can talk about anything that the Lakers are capable of this year, without starting with the fact that somehow, in yet another season, LeBron James is telling Father Time to go bleep himself. Like, it's insane. It's absolutely insane what this guy is doing on a nightly basis. I should have pulled this up before we went live here. I'm going to pull up his stats and just like the stuff that he is doing night in, night out. Now, sure, like, does he take possessions off? Absolutely, right? We laughed at Rui here in this play from last night, for example.
To go in Houston. Climbs. Corner, wide open three. How many times did this throw?
But right at this, right also in that image was LeBron standing there on the right block for the entirety of that possession. And I don't care. Like, I get to continue watching LeBron James play basketball for my favorite team. I get to watch him continue to do that at a high level. Got to actually go and watch him play down here in Texas when I covered the team there in San Antonio. That was a thrill. Got to sit in on a presser or a scrum that he was holding. Also a thrill. And so, it's incredible. And we're going to look back on this tenure that he has had here with the Lakers. And we're going to marvel at the fact that, when he signed here, I know I was thinking like, all right, you got like a 3-year window probably to win a championship. And I'm sure that's what the Lakers were also thinking at that time, and continue to think, as reflected by some of their caution when it comes to pushing chips into the middle of the table for a team that is headed by LeBron James. But look at this. In his age 40 season, he has played on average, let's see, where is it? 35 minutes a night. He is shooting about 50%, 51% from the field. That is higher than he had any of his first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. It took getting to year 8 for LeBron James when he was 26 years old for him to shoot better than he is currently shooting from the field. From 3-point range, he's shooting 38.6%, so just about 39% on 5.7 attempts per game. It took until, let's see, year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It took until year 10 of his career for him to shoot better than he is currently shooting from 3-point range on, by the way, significantly fewer attempts per game. He only attempted 3.3 threes in that 2012-2013 season there in Miami. He is now, his obviously free throw rate has gone down. That is kind of as you would expect, as his athleticism has taken a bit of a dip. He is averaging 7.7 rebounds a game. It took until year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for him to beat that total per game. He's assisting at a rate of 8.8 assists per game. It took until year 7 for him to do. No, that still isn't better. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It took until year 15 for him to assist the ball better than he has assisted it so far this year. It's just incredible. Like, we're watching this guy, like he should be at the age like when Kareem was in year 40. He was averaging like 14 or so points per game, if that. He was kind of lumbering up and down the court. LeBron just in the last game had that insane dunk where he switched hands in midair and dunked on Derek Lively, who, when LeBron started playing basketball in the NBA, wasn't even born yet. It's just like absolutely incredible what we are watching from LeBron. And again, like, there are aspects of this, year, his age 40 season, that you can point to and say this is maybe a little bit less than ideal, especially in comparison to his like MVP caliber seasons. But it would be insane to hope for an MVP type season from a guy turning 40 years old, or, at 40 years old. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. Um, Honestly, insane. Legitimately insane. And when we talk about like the reasons the Lakers are still able to hover at, let alone above 500, a lot of it has to do with the fact that this guy is still pretty damn good at basketball, and I'm going to continue to enjoy watching it. All right, the next one that I wanted to talk about is Anthony Davis, who like, Anthony Davis is, I think, asked more of than just about any player in the NBA, especially under JJ Redick's system, where the Lakers want to continue to use him as a hub for possessions offensively. Um, you look at that starting lineup for a chunk of the year when D'Angelo Russell was in it, and you had two just like non-presences in terms of defense on the perimeter. There was like no point of attack defense in those lineups to speak of. Even as it stands right now, Reaves is like not a very good point of attack defender. Max is I think, good point of attack defender. Rui is a bit of a space cadet when it comes to defense. LeBron, as we just talked about, has his moments where he's just going to be designated hitter. And Anthony Davis is asked to basically carry that defense and keep it respectable despite all of that stuff going on. And then, oh yeah, by the way, on the other end of the court, please, operate at times as the fulcrum of the defense or the offense. It's insane what he is asked to do. And now, does he always complete that lift and get that bar over his shoulders? No. Like, there are games that it can be kind of frustrating watching this guy, but I think by the time he retires and by the time he departs from the Lakers, however he does, he's going to go down as one of the most talented players that the Lakers have ever had. He has one. Like, we're watching this guy who, I think, the plan is for him to retire a Laker. He wants to retire a Laker, loves being a Laker, and you can kind of see it in how much losses really get to him. So Anthony Davis, what he is doing this year, given what is expected of him, is pretty incredible to watch on a night by night basis. And that's why, like, in games that AD doesn't play, you're like, oh boy, I hope they beat the Portland Trailblazers. It's just, any conversation about Anthony Davis's worth on a basketball court can be summed up by the fact that, like, the Lakers sat him against Portland, and I was like, man, I really hope that they don't regret that one. Like, Portland is a terrible basketball team. They are not very good. They're a young, inexperienced team that is kind of bereft of talent and probably have the worst coach in the NBA in Chauncey Billups. Like, that's a team that, it almost shouldn't matter who the Lakers suit up should be able to beat, or as you're going into it, you would feel very confident that you're going to beat them no matter what, and probably beat them soundly. And I didn't bet the Lakers that night. I was just like, yeah, I'm going to stay away from this one. This one feels like a bit too much of a trap game here for the Lakers. And you just see what AD does and what he is asked to do night by night, and the fact that more nights than not, he's able to lift that bar over his shoulders or carry the Atlas stone the way that he has. So is he going to factor into MVP conversations this year? Probably not. Lakers aren't good enough. He should be first team or second team all defense this year again. And he's going to make an all-star team again. And if the Lakers, are able to continue at this pace and are able to play their way out of the play-in and get to avoid that scenario, it will be largely because Anthony Davis was able to lift that bar over his shoulders often enough so that the Lakers would be able to avoid that scenario. And watching somebody carry that, like that was another thing that like really stuck out to me watching them live, was like he is everywhere in a game that he is on, and he was on in that game. He is absolutely everywhere. A play doesn't take place where you're like, okay, that was him, that AD got a little breather there. Like offense, defense doesn't matter. He just he's either pulling the defense in one direction or another. On offense, he's either, he's asked to set a screen or hand the ball off, and then, roll hard to the basket or pop out and knock down a shot. And then defensively, he has to be perfect every single play, because if he isn't, the Lakers' entire defensive identity goes to absolute shit. So like watching him, take on that challenge and take on that burden night in, night out, has been actually insane, actually incredible to watch. And I can't wait to watch more of it. The next guy on this list, I'm going to check the comments here to see what you guys are saying. I'm just going to go through here. Ice Cold Ace, well wishes, peace and love to California from New York City. This stuff matters, man. Girth Brooks, thank you for this, Anthony. Live in Pasadena and feeling overwhelmed. Could use some ball as a distraction for a bit. We're here for you, buddy. Thoughts and prayers. I actually, had Avery. We sat at the dinner table today and put our heads together and said a prayer for that entire area and everybody going through what you guys are going through there. And these are moments where I just, weird as it sounds, really miss being home. Like feel like I'm letting people down by being out here, even though there's nothing I could do either there or here. But we're all here for you, Girth, and everybody else who's going through it. Let's go. Yeah, somebody agreed with my comments on COVID. Kevin Hernandez rightfully points out AD does need some help. He's always worn out playing against bigs. I would agree there. I don't think they're going to be able to get Kessler, as Kevin asks a little bit later. Let's go ahead and jump back into the plan for today's show. The next guy that I want to talk about is Austin Reaves. So Austin is rather polarizing, like weirdly polarizing, honestly. He, like, I always feel the need to kind of remind people, hey, this guy is an undrafted free agent that the Lakers just kind of stumbled upon. Actually, didn't even play their part in that. His agency very much steered him to the Lakers, seeing the opportunity at hand, and the Lakers were like, sure, yeah, come on aboard. And then he had that great training camp and mini camp with LeBron and those guys, and they're like, oh, this guy's an NBA player. We need to and to their credit, they did make him an NBA player right away. He is still, by the way, paid only $12 million a year this year. um, and is expected to do stuff. At one point this year, was expected to do stuff even max guys aren't, where he was asked to carry the burden offensively in terms of initiation and creation, and then also go out and be the better defensive player on the perimeter when he was either starting alongside D'Angelo Russell or Dalton Connect. Now that he has Max Christie there, you've really seen Austin become unlocked in ways that we hadn't seen earlier this year. And boy, has he been unlocked. Now, again, there are going to be matchups that he's going to kind of struggle with. His handle is still a little bit loose for the responsibilities that he is kind of entrusted with. But for $12 million a year, Austin Reaves is more than, like he's easily one of the best value contracts in the league. Had a bad game against Dallas, like no ways around it. He said it after the game. I said it on the lowdown. Also, the Mavericks went out of their way to really kind of, go at him and target him. And it's something that I'm a little concerned about here moving forward. But still, even with that concern here moving forward, even with some of the other concerns that he has, athletically in terms of being able to beat guys off of the dribble without needing a screen, those are all fair concerns. He's still making $12 million a year this year. The guys who were making $12 million a year this year also have those concerns and then some. He's playing basketball at like a $20 million a year level. And, maybe eventually or definitely eventually he's going to be paid like that. And then when he is, we'll hold him to a higher standard. But like the people who I like recently, for some reason, I've seen it in the Discord or I've seen it in the chat here. People are like, oh, this guy's got to be benched. For whom? As Aaron would say, for whomst are you benching Austin Reaves? You're playing Gabe instead of him? Like, you think that makes more sense? Gabe went like most of last year without making a 3-pointer. We're not doing that. And that's not the now, do the Lakers need to find a balance of Austin creating and LeBron creating and Anthony Davis operating as a fulcrum on offense? Yeah, sure. Does the defense need to be better? And in games where he is getting picked on the way that he was, does he need to handle that situation better? Yeah, he does. Like, of course he does. I watched that game just as much as you did. But like when you put it all into the calculator and you run it through the equations and stuff like that, this guy is producing way above any realistic metric for expectations at the rate that he's being paid at. And that allows, by the way, he's going to be on this contract for the next 3 years too. As will Max, and maybe a year less than Max. Like you're looking at the potential backcourt of the future here for the Lakers, and for the next 4 years, it's getting paid a combined 20 or 20 something million dollars a year. You're gonna have like Donovan Mitchell. We just watched the Cavs right now. He played really poorly in that game. The Cavs won regardless. Donovan Mitchell's making like 50 mil, 50. 5-0, maybe a little less. But like he's easily making triple and then some what Austin is making. It's pretty insane what Austin is doing or what he has done so far in his career when you consider where he came from, when you consider the adversity he had where, last year he was playing for a coach in Darvin Ham who didn't really actually trust him. And there was friction, there between those two sides for the majority of the season. He kind of keeps his head up and plays through it and arrives here at this season where he's been able to play the way he has this year. And yes, while it isn't perfect, the Lakers are nowhere near where they are right now with somebody like, obviously, if you just take Austin off of the team and you don't replace him with anybody, the Lakers would be significantly worse. But if you remove Austin from the team and you put somebody there who is making $12 million a year, in his spot, the average $12 million a year player, that's like Gabe. Like, I'm not kidding. It's like Schroeder. Would the Lakers be better or worse with Gabe starting there and no Austin? Would the Lakers be better or worse with Schroeder starting there and no Austin? I think it's objectively the Lakers are better with Austin in that spot. He's a multiplier for LeBron and AD, whereas Schroeder, like, that fit was never perfect. Like, go through the list of players making around $12 million a year, and it's not even close to what Austin is being able to produce on a night-by-night basis, especially since Max has been able to step into the starting lineup. Now, if the Lakers want to figure more seriously into the title debate, yeah, Austin needs to play better more consistently, regardless of matchups. But for the most part, he's not their problem by a long shot. And that's pretty insane to say about somebody who, again, undrafted and making $12 million a year. That's just nuts. Speaking of Max, I mentioned him in the last segment briefly there. Max, look at my large and old son. We all it's so refreshing, honestly. As a sports fan, like, taking myself away from content creation, covering the Lakers, reporting on the Lakers, all that stuff. It's actually fun. Like, even if I look back to when, I was just tweeting about the Lakers and had no idea that a career in this stuff was even possible. There would be those times where, like, the fan base would grasp onto a player or a concept or a player that they want pulled out of the lineup and stuff like that. And it would be like the whole year is like, when is this going to happen? When's this going to happen? When's this going to happen? And then more often than not, because coaches are very stubborn, they hear that noise. They see that noise. They see the comment sections. They see the tweets, and they become predisposed to be like, "Oh, shut up, stupid casual fans! Stop it, knock it off." I think we saw that a lot with Darvin. And every so often, though, that button gets pushed. That thing that fans are kind of hoping for finally happens. And then on top of it, it happens. And that thing that fans have been kind of holding on to for years, in Max's case, they actually wind up being right. Like, it's actually because, go back to, I remember a couple years ago, I was like, I watched Max in the summer league, and then occasionally out there on the court, and I'm like, damn, this rookie is like, all right, okay, Max, all right. I'd like to see a little bit more of that. And then, last year, he did play a bigger role than I think we think he did, but it was so inconsistent that it doesn't really feel like he did. And in those minutes that he was out there and he was actually playing a role that makes some sense for him, part of the reason that, like, he doesn't, you look back on his play last year and it feels like he played a much smaller role on that team, is that he was playing out of position, out of role, all year. Finally, this year, he's playing a role that makes a lot more sense for him, the one that we have all been begging for. He's always been a 3-and-D wing. He gets to do that now. He's been tremendous as a spot up 3-point shooter. We've arrived at the point here where he is open from the corner, and if he misses, I'm like, oh, dang. I didn't realize he could do that. He has been stellar defensively given his responsibilities, and again is making like $8 million a year. 8. Like, look at the numbers he's put up basically since he got into the starting lineup, and then look for other players who aren't like, first pick overall, right? Because those guys I think make around $7 or $8 million bucks a year. Like, look at players on their second contracts who are making $8 million a year, and nobody is doing the stuff that Max is doing. Nobody. It's Gabe. It's like, And this guy is doing this. He just like a couple months ago could order his first legal drink. He has for the next like decade plus, we're going to get to watch Max get better and better and better and better. And for the next 4 years or so, we're going to get to watch him get better and better and better and better on an extremely cheap contract that is going to allow the Lakers to do some other cool stuff elsewhere on the roster. So yeah, Max has been so much fun to watch. It's been really cool to watch him accept the challenge. He says all the right things, right? I'm excited to get to guard whoever I have to guard on a night by night basis. And it's just I really appreciate the Lakers and the coaching staff for kind of entrusting me with those responsibilities. He says that stuff, but then he backs it up and he very clearly revels in those matchups, revels in those opportunities. And in the NBA, every single team pretty much is going to have a killer on the perimeter that starts for their team. Every single one. Unless we get to later in the season and you have teams benching guys as they compete for Cooper Flag. Max is handling those guys extremely well. And maybe we see some regression there, but like I think at this point the data sample is getting big enough to where like this might just be who he is. Maybe the shooting will regress a little bit, but I think defensively this is just who Max is. And wow. Right? Like, wow, look at Max. All right, I'm going to look into the comments again here. Yeah, just a lot of people talking about what they would like to see done to the roster. Sorry, I'm catching something from my kids. My daughter came home today, literally sneezed right in my face. And I'm like, all right, yeah, it's going to take 24 hours. And I'm going to start. My voice already seems kind of scratchy. My ear feels a little like, that like ear bubble you get. It's like, parents understand. Harrison the other day hopped on. He was like, you make terrible cases for whether or not to have kids. And I'm like, if you don't like being sick, you probably shouldn't have kids. Anyway, let's talk about the next item on our list here. JJ Redick, who I think realistically speaking is on schedule, if not slightly ahead of schedule. The Lakers are better under his stewardship than they were under Darvin Ham, with a very similar roster, probably a worse roster, right? Especially if you count not having Vando all year. He, I think, really has the buy-in from this team, top down, in ways that Darvin certainly didn't last year. I particularly enjoy him as a communicator with the media and after games and that stuff. Do I think there's some kind of condescending bullshit in there? Yeah, but like that just kind of comes with the territory with JJ. Also, by the way, while we're on the subject, JJ had to be evacuated from the Pacific Palisades, and obviously nothing but the best to him and his family as they deal with that situation. But yeah, like we're looking at a young coach figure this out in a damn near impossible situation where you have LeBron James, you have Anthony Davis. The expectation right away is to compete for a championship with a substandard roster. And I think when you consider everything that is kind of working against him to this point, I would say we couldn't realistically ask for more. Could we actually ask for more? Yeah, like we could ask for him to step into the league and immediately be as good as Eric Spoelstra in this stuff. But that was never on the table. That was never going to happen. If, I'm watching the Cavs game here tonight and I'm thinking to myself, man, Atkinson was there briefly. And yeah, like I just no, he was hired after Redick. Are there what if moments? There are always going to be what if moments, but Redick hasn't been so bad that I like watch Atkinson and I'm like, gosh, well, that's a big miss there. Like, no, I've been very happy with Redick to this point. Again, taking into account the context under which he is trying to coach this team. So now there are places that he needs to improve. Um, I think he needs to figure out ways to get guys to play with their hair on fire a little bit more defensively than they have. They need to play on a string a little bit better. I think a big factor coming out of this season will be um, the amount of confidence that is instilled in him by the organization moving forward. That's something that assistant coaches pick up, and hopefully next year Redick will have a better assistant coaching staff than he has currently. That is something that could very clearly improve. And that was a concern in hiring him, right? Is assistant coaches, for one thing, the Lakers don't pay him very well compared to other teams in the league, especially considering cost of living in LA. The Lakers have fired their previous two head coaches shortly after real success, and assistant coaches are going to be reluctant to sign on to an organization that cycles through coaches the way the Lakers have. So like there are all these factors here, and I do think, hopefully coming off of this year, based on how it is going and how it might continue to go, assistant coaches look at the Lakers situation as a little bit more stable and give JJ more of the time of day than perhaps he got going back into last offseason when they were trying to fill out that staff. But all things considered, JJ, I think, has been good. Maybe not very good. I think very good, considering expectations and where I thought this might go early on. Um, he's definitely been like, he's not a below average coach, which as a rookie coach, that's about all you can ask for. So JJ, I would say, like I write here on the prompt there, on schedule, if not slightly ahead of schedule. And we got to keep him on that schedule. Next one up, Rob Pelinka. The funny thing with Rob is like there are multiple ways you can get to like a C average, right? You can either, or like, the kind of GPA that allows you to graduate. So 2.0, we'll say. You can either like just do the bare minimum in all of your classes and just kind of slide by. Or maybe not GPA, because like you do eventually need to pass those classes. We'll say in a class. We'll say in a class, there are multiple ways to arrive at like a B in a class or a C in a class, right? You could have certain tests that you are super prepared for and absolutely knock out of the park. Essays that, like me particular, I was pretty good at essay writing. So that was a strength of mine, or like public presentation, right? That was the kind of stuff that I was always pretty good at. And then like the just kind of rote memorization stuff that required focus and discipline and that stuff, I was not very good at it. So there were moments that I would get like A pluses and extra credit on stuff that I could. And then there were moments that I was just like, I'll take the C here. And then it would all kind of like round out to a B. And I think that's like, I think ironically here, Rob Pelinka is kind of like the me of general managers in my approach to school back when I was going to school. He has his moments where it's like, holy shit, Max Christie, great pick. Austin Reaves, wow, finding him, way to go. Even though, again, he was guided to the Lakers. The Russell Westbrook trade, like when they sent him away, turning that whole situation into one where the Lakers could immediately go to the Western Conference. All right, that's pretty damn good. And then like you turn around and then you look at like, not turning Malik Beasley into anything. And the Vanderbilt extension on the back half of that doesn't look very good to this point, and not turning Mo Bamba into anything. And obviously the Russell Westbrook trade, when they brought the guy in the first place, and like the treatment of coaches and stuff like that. Like he's just this huge roller coaster. Woo! And like ideally the Lakers would supply him or supplement him with the kind of talent in the front office that would kind of even out those peaks and valleys and raise the floor while maintaining that higher ceiling. And maybe, just maybe, someday we'll get there. I doubt it. Like, if there was ever a off season for that to take place, it would have been this last one, and it didn't happen. So this is probably just who Rob is. But look, if we're just talking about things that like we're happy about this season, I think the Dorian Finney-Smith acquisition, that player was the right one. Would I've used D'Lo on him? Maybe not. But you know what? I think Dorian is going to be a winning player for these Lakers here moving forward. He has already become one. He's somebody that I'm already pushing for to start because of the impact he has on winning. That's more than I had on my kind of bingo card heading into early January or in early January. I think overall, like, it's been a very Rob Pelinka season, but him making a trade and acknowledging, okay, yeah, this roster does still need stuff. And the fact that I'm hearing from behind the scenes, he is still acknowledging that this roster still needs some stuff. Like, I'll take that as like, given how low my bar is there, like I'll take that for Rob Pelinka. And if he makes another trade and the Lakers do finally use some first round draft capital to supplement the LeBron and AD era, awesome. Great. Then we're really cooking with lard. Man, I miss like when I was young and going to visit my abuelita's house, and she would cook breakfast with, you could smell like the lard, like lard has a very distinct smell when you're cooking with it. You walk in there and it's like, oh, I am home. um Yeah, if Rob Pelinka is able to pull off another deal here, he'd be cooking with lard, and I'd be very happy. And we would see where that would put the Lakers roster from that point forward. But in terms of just sending out positive vibes and being happy for stuff this year, I'm happy that Rob Pelinka made a trade. My final one is kind of off of the board, kind of out of left field here. Before I jump into any fish grease is another one. Actually, it's funny. Jen literally tonight was like, yeah, I really want to learn how to cook with fish oil. And I was like, yeah, we could try. We love messing around with like what to cook with and stuff, but yeah. Anyway, so we'll go. I want to my last little thing here, my last little bullet point that I'm happy for this season, and it didn't fit on the screen there, is the fact that the Boston Celtics appear to have legitimate competition in the Eastern Conference this year in ways they definitely didn't last year. I just watched the Cleveland Cavaliers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder. Yes, it happened at home, but they beat the Thunder without Donovan Mitchell playing particularly well. The Thunder still playing without Chet, so the Thunder is still going to get better. But overall, like, I can't wait to root my ass off for the Cleveland Cavaliers in that series against Boston whenever that series happens, whether it's in the second round, whether that's in the Eastern Conference Finals, whenever it is. I am going to be one of the biggest Cavs fans in existence, and I am just thoroughly happy that we, like, all year last year, it was like, please, Eastern Conference, give us somebody who can test the freaking Celtics and their boring ass style of play. Please give me somebody. And I think finally we have arrived there with these Cavs. They're legit. They're very, very good. They are cooking, as I just said in the last segment, with margarine. All right, that is going to do it here for this episode, this special episode of the Lakers Lounge podcast. I will record a quick lowdown, not too much actual news to really point to here, so it'll be a quick one. But before we go, I want to send out all of my thoughts and prayers, positive vibes, support to everybody going through it. Um, wherever you're going through it in the Southland there. So, um, just, I wish Johnny, good question. Will the game still happen? The league says they are monitoring that situation. They are keeping an eye on that situation. Again, they had that new fire now in Hollywood. And I know that there was a concert canceled at SoFi today, and now I believe SoFi is an partially outdoor venue too, so like you have air quality there. But yeah, I do kind of wonder, and I'll let you guys know as soon as we get any kind of word as to whether or not the game is actually going to happen. So, yeah, prayers up to everybody out there across Southern California. Please be safe. Hug your loved ones. And my one thing is that I was evacuated for a fire in 2016, I believe it was. Um, and stupid me back then. I was working at Men's Warehouse, and like I wanted to, like I grabbed all of my suits, and I'm just so thankful for the fact that the fire didn't get to our house then, because I walked in and I'm looking at all these photos that like my wife and I still have to this day. Jen and I have been together since my senior year, and we have pictures that from back when we were kids that we still have in our house that would have gone up in flames there, and that would have been really sad. So think real long and hard about the stuff that uh you take from your house, if it comes to that, and keep your family safe, keep your family close, and let's all get through this together. So until the next time you guys hear from me, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a great rest of your day. Make somebody else's. Please be safe. We love you guys. Talk to you soon.